have a sound check. Well, good evening, everyone. We're doing a little sound checking right now to make sure that this new setup that I have, this new scene here. Okay, good. We got sound. All right, good evening, everyone. This is an update for 93L that is currently located over the eastern Gulf and northern Florida, so I'm not going to waste a lot of your time. So I want to show you what we have right now. This is the 8 o'clock advisory from the Hurricane Center, and they speak about the disorganized showers and thunderstorms over the eastern Gulf, and the system's forecast to move to the west and emerge over, could emerge, no, it will emerge over the northern Gulf and then go over towards Louisiana. So let me show you what we've got going on here. You see a whole lot of showers and thunderstorms. Locating kind of looks like a backwards S over the northern Ohio Valley, Tennessee Valley here, and then you have our system over the northern Gulf, the northeast Gulf in Florida, and you really see where the ridge of high pressure is, just sitting just to the north of the system. And that's what's going to move this thing along towards the west, move it along the northern Gulf coast, move it towards Louisiana, and move it towards the northeast coast of Texas. So I want to show you a zoomed in shot there. You can really see the thunderstorms kind of pulsing and waning and pulsing and waning. But one thing of note is if you look at this kind of white milky looking structure up here on the southern Georgia, northern Florida boundary here, that is the low-level center that got kind of spit out. We're having what we call some diurnal pulsing, and the showers pulse up and then they kind of die off, right? And that's very normal for these kind of weak tropical disturbances. They kind of pulse and die, and they pulse and die, and until you can really get a lot of concentrated convection right around a kind of a real concentrated low-level center, that's just the way it's going to continue to be. And so what happens is, as you can see here on the radar, you get the showers that pulse up, they spin up a little low-level center, then the showers move off, and then they start to pulse up again, and that little low-level center kind of gets spit out, right? And then if you look towards the end there, you start to see another little spin up. And this is the one that I would be concerned about. Let me show you what's going on at the surface. You can see you have a little low-level pressure center here, and then you have another shifting of the winds out here over the northeast Gulf. So the other thing of note here is that the pressures are relatively high. There's the ambient atmospheric pressure, if you will, is relatively high. Normally, when you're looking at tropical depressions in the tropics, you're looking for something along the lines of 1,006 millibars, 1,008 millibars, roughly in that range. And as you get further south, you're looking maybe 1,004, 1,005 millibars. Look at what you've got here. You've got probably 1,013 millibars as your low. That's really high. And it's not like the pressure gradient to the north of it is like you've got some really strong high, and so you can have a relatively high pressure as long as you've got a good gradient. Because I mean, you can go all the way into Georgia and you're still only looking at 1,014, 1,015, 1,018 millibars. That's just not a really strong pressure gradient. So this is a very weak low. But one thing it does have going for it is it's relatively compact. And these compact systems, these small systems, can spin up fairly quickly. They can get a tight low level center that can spin down. But that is where this thing's weakness, is Achilles heel lies, is because if you look at the 700 millibar, and this is about 10,000 feet up in the air, and as you can see, what it's going to do is it takes that mid-level energy and it just brings it right along the northern Gulf Coast. And if you see why, this is about midnight Thursday morning, late Wednesday night, early Thursday morning. And you can see what's going on here is you have this ridge of high pressure literally sitting to the east of it, to the north of it, to the northwest of it, and even all the way down to the west of it. So that's going to cause it to just move slowly to the west. But what you also notice about this ridge of high pressure is it's very weak. It's not really a whole lot of strength to it. And how we know that is you can see these winds here. They're not very strong. They're only 10, 15 knots, 20 knots at max. And so it's not going to scoot this thing along and just drive it. And so that means one of two things. That means that this system does get spun up real quickly, and it wants to intensify like so many of the storms in the northern Gulf have done. Hurricane Michael, Beryl, just so many of them. If it wants to do that, that means it's going to have no hard time going through that ridge, just pulling itself into that ridge, because the ridge is just not that strong. And so you would probably see a landfall somewhere, Mississippi, New Orleans. However, if it stays weak, like the European is calling for it to, and then it starts to maybe intensify up to low tropical storm status, maybe a 40-mile-an-hour tropical storm, then you could see it going in further towards western Louisiana. So then it just brings it in. And so that's how this story is going to unfold. The stronger it goes, the further east it goes. The weaker it is, the further west it goes. So then you can see what happens with this ridge. I'll just give you a little bit taste of the forecast here. As we go forward in time, it really just sets up over the heart of the country. It becomes this really monster ridge here. Let me change the regions here and go over to CONUS, and let me show you guys the height anomaly here. So you can see what happens after it moves inland. You just get this really big ridge of high pressure over the rest of the country, and that's the European. I think the GFS has similar ideas, except for it just kind of takes it, and you can just see it's just going to be hot, guys. It's going to be really, really hot. So one last look here at these models. This was from this morning, and you can see that these models are in general agreement with this western path, and then taking it mostly in then a west-northwest direction into New Orleans, but skirting along the coast. The biggest threat from this is going to be rain. Another flooding situation, not catastrophic like we've seen, but areas that are prone to flood in these lowland areas could see some flooding. So kind of capping it off, if we're going to see some development out of this, I expect to see it overnight, and I expect to see it underneath this blob of convection out here. So as we get overnight, we might see something try to kick off underneath this. That's what I would imagine if something does happen. If it keeps blowing convection off and it's spitting out low-level centers, this thing will have a very hard time, and that's probably what the Hurricane Center is looking at with its 40%. So definitely we'll keep an eye out. We will give you guys an update probably mid-morning or later morning once we get some new model information. All right. So until next time, may God richly bless you, my beloved.